navies back in the Age of Sail had more to worry about than just the weather and enemy ships. They had to worry about fortifications, lobbing shells at them and cutting them down before they can even get close to fulfilling their mission. Today, we're going to talk about that, so stay tuned. Alright, so welcome to today's edition of Hedgehog Naval Academy. Today we're going to cover land fortifications, and that's all we're going to cover. There's a lot to this. The rules aren't hard at all, but there's a few different things we have to pay attention to. I've got one of the pages from the PDF printed out here, specifically about land fortifications. And I'll go ahead and actually look at the chart, the different types. But let's talk in general about the rules, because these are really... this is where fortifications are actually probably the most dangerous opponent that you're going to face with your navies. So, let's take a first look at what are the characteristics of these fortifications. If you take a quick look at the rules, it specifies that shore batteries have essentially shore batteries are anything that's a land fortification, right? They have a 360-degree arc of fire. That is huge. Now, again, within reason, they do mention here that you have to bear in mind the emplacement. So you may narrow it a little bit, but still, 360 is probably not, more often than not, what you're going to run into. The thing that makes them more dangerous is these few abilities. The first one is that they're +1 to hit whenever they fire, because it's such a stable firing platform. They're not worried about the pitch of the sea. In addition, because of the stability of the firing platform, they're also able to fire at 50% greater range. So that means your heavy cannon fire out to 30 inches. That's pretty huge. Matter of fact, your mortars, if you happen to have any mortars on them, you're going to be firing out to 36 inches. That's quite a distance. So think about how much time it's going to take you to sail into your own gun range. You're going to be pelted by these fortifications. That's going to be pretty devastating, very likely. So, gotta be careful with them. So anyway, but those are the biggies. Now, what's fortunate for us is, regardless of weather gauge, what direction the wind's coming from, fortifications always fire last. Okay, and if both sides happen to have fortifications, the players essentially roll off who goes first. But now, if you have multiple on each side, that side fires all of their fortifications before the opponent fires, if they win the roll off. Okay, now when you purchase fortifications for campaigns or scenarios, they can have inexperienced crew or veteran crew as well. They do have their own point costs, which I'll get to. You'll see in a moment, and they have their own hull points and break values, just like ships. They can be destroyed the same way as ships can. They just never take critical hits for, you can never aim high. I'm sorry, so you don't have to worry about the high critical hit table. It's always the hull critical hit table. Okay, so let's take a quick look here at the chart for the fortifications, real quick. You can see you've got 5 types, and this really allows you to have a lot of different flavor to the types of scenarios you want to play. We'll take a look at a couple models, an example, but you have a shore gun emplacement, which is essentially just a small entrenchment, if you will. It could be built up small, or built up a little bit, but it's actually just a couple cannon. It's not a very large battery, if you will. You do also have a shore mortar emplacement, which can be pretty devastating if it hits, because of course mortars do D6 damage. They're a little less accurate, but still, that's going to be interesting if you get hit. The Martello Tower and shore fortresses are really interesting, and I will show a couple models of those. You'll see the difference. They have a lot of a lot of structure points, as you can see. Now notice how the shore emplacements are both medium, and the Martello tower is large. The shore fortress is extra large. That's pretty interesting. Because think about the bonuses to hit when you're shooting at those targets. Of course, the guns from a shore fortress and Martello tower are quite a few there. It's again, shore fortress is 5 heavy, 4 light. Wow, that's huge. It has 200 structure points. 200. That's double what a first rate has. And its break value is 67, which is actually, if you compare that to a first rate, that's just a little less than double the break point of a first rate. So it only costs 400 points. So it's pretty devastating. Now remember, this have double range, so out to 30 inches is going to do its heavy cannon, and out to 21 inches it's going to do its shoot its light cannons. So it's going to be shooting you before you can even reach your firing range, unless of course you're firing a mortar at them. But this floating battery, that's the interesting one. I'm going to have to do some. Personally, I'm going to look up some of these examples of floating batteries historically. But they are small, relatively speaking. They're medium size here, but they're much smaller, obviously, than some of these others. But they're stationed and they're anchored in place. Think of some of your floating docks for like in lakes and areas where you got your diving board on that. Just a floating dock where you've got some cannon mounted. It's much lighter. It's kind of like a brig as far as the size. Not size, but strength, hull points, and break value. But it has a light and heavy cannon. Matter of fact, this profile, with the exception of not being able to move, is almost exactly the sloop. It's a little bit more potent than the sloop. It has a few more hull points, structure points. So those are your 5 choices. And again, in the scenarios when you're able to pick the ones you want, you can use any of those. So let's take a look at a couple models here. Alright, so these are your examples of a Martello tower and a shore fortress. As you can see, they're pretty much 360-degree models. I guess you could build a fortress up against the cliffside so that it'd be restricted arcs, but generally you're looking at something like this. Now, to give you an idea of how big these are, let's go ahead. Let's put a frigate in front of them. So they're not that large. Okay, obviously these will block a line of sight shooting past. Just like an island would. You'll also, because they're on islands, have that 3-inch rule. So if you get within 3 inches, there you may end up running aground with a medium or larger ship. But these are the dangers. These are the models of the 2 most dangerous land fortifications you can get. Now, of course, the Martello tower is 250 points, and the shore fortress is 400 points. So you're not going to run into a lot of these, but you may run into a couple or 3 of those in a particular game. It all depends on what the opponent wants to do. Now, I don't have any models for a shore gun emplacement, but you can consider any small island space, like about the same size as this. I don't know what that's a counter to. Okay, a same size as this, basically, with a lot lower to the ground, with a couple cannon placed in it. You could sculpt it with like a ring of rock work, brickwork as the actual emplacement, with a couple cutouts for where the cannons would fire through. You could build it or model it with narrower arcs. Now remember, it can be 360, so you could build it kind of like this, except lower to the ground, and it wouldn't be necessarily nearly as big because it only has 1 heavy cannon, right? Or in the case of the shore mortar emplacement, 1 mortar. It only has 10 structure points, so you're gonna have to make it smaller. and it won't show up too well on a base. But you could use maybe a 25 mil, maybe a 32 mil base, sculpt it up to make some, to make it look like an emplacement on a piece of island, or it wouldn't be sitting on its own necessarily on a rock outcropping necessarily. Could be at the end of a pier area or a breakwater, but you can make them small and still get the effect you're looking for. So the dangers, again, to repeat kind of here, let's look at the chart again. The reason these are so dangerous is that this will outshoot a first rate because it has more guns. Matter of fact, its guns are very similar to the Santissima Trinidad, having 5 heavy and 4 light cannon. They're shooting out to 30-inch range or 21-inch for the light cannon. They can take 200 points of damage before being destroyed. Basically, you can take 133 points of damage before, 133 points of damage before having to worry about the surrendering. Because again, just like with ships, once you get below the break value, the fortress can surrender. But I saved the best for last. These can use the same ammunition types that are available to your ships, but they go one better. They can use hot shot or heated shot, red hot shot, and they will not suffer any damage or fire rule if they roll 10s to hit. So they can fire heated shot out to 30-inch range off that fortress or the Martello tower. 5 heavy cannon, 3 heavy cannon. Light cannon, again, 21 inches hot shot, heated shot. It's going to potentially put your ships on fire. Very, very dangerous. So you're really going to need to overwhelm them with your own firepower and approach them aggressively to get in close enough where you can do damage. And hopefully these are not on a shoreline, and you could actually, like the Beyond Islands, so you can actually get multiple ships close in to try to attack everything, every direction, to try to get as many guns to bear on that fortress as possible. Now, we'll take a look at a couple scenarios upcoming in naval exercise. Matter of fact, the next one will have some emplacements that we'll be able to put in. Now, those are smaller, obviously, but you can buy them in this scenario, and we'll see in naval exercise how they actually work. And others will actually encounter and have to deal with some of these fortresses. Alright, so that's, again, a short video just covering land fortifications and what you're able to do with them, and the dangers that you face with these on the table. Alright, so I hope that was I hope that was helpful. Please share, like, subscribe, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.